Hi students, welcome to week 7. I'm Serena, your instructor, and I wanted to make a short video going over the contents of this week because we're completely moving on to a new topic, which is civic education. Civic education is another part of character education, just like SEL is a part of character education and peer mediators are a form or a part of character education. Civic education is a type of character education, and it's more rare in the schools. We hear about social emotional learning, especially around San Diego County. As you know from one of your past assignments, civic education is a little bit different. So I'm going to make this short and sweet. I'm going to share my screen with you and go over this week. We're in week 7. And week 7, if you click on week 7, fall 2020, I started with a very simple discussion board question. And the question basically is activating prior knowledge. You can call it a brain dump in a classroom. And basically, I want to know, what do you think civic education is? It's short and sweet. I'm going to ask that you don't look anything up online unless it's driving you crazy. You just need to know. But learning really sticks in a classroom when you ask students what they know and then give them the information, and then they can contextualize it. It's a really powerful way to teach. So I'm doing that with you this module. I'm asking 2 questions. One, what do you think civic education is based on what you know about the word civic? Or maybe you do know what it is, and tell us what you know, dump out what you know or what you think. And then what do you think it would look like in your classroom? There is no right and wrong on the discussion board because you haven't learned about civic education yet unless you already know, and then I'll enhance your knowledge. Okay, then we're going to go to supplementary materials. I want to make sure that you're really taking these supplementary materials at heart for this week. Civic education is very progressive and a little bit more complex than it sounds. That's why it's farther along in the course than something like social emotional learning. The videos will kind of give you like oh, okay, they're 3 short videos. Civic education is going on around the world and in some to many US classrooms. And then this article, what does civic education look like in the US? This was really the aha one for me when I was like, oh, that's what it looks like. There's a figure 1 and it shows what does it look like in an elementary school classroom? What does it look like in a math, science, history, ELA? It's not necessarily only like a civics class, like a history classroom. The way I like to think of it is kind of like, well, I'm not going to give it away, but it's kind of like active learning. And there's a really big, deep picture to the why of this. Okay, so then we look at like what schools are actually doing civic learning best around San Diego. Let's make this real. Then there's some articles. There's a little bit of racial inequity that gets kind of into the change maker mindset. And then state mandates and optional resources. I give you some classroom resources that you can just use. And then for the assignment, we're going to do civic education for 2 weeks. And so for the assignment for week 1, which is this week, is we're going to do it a collective brainstorm. So I want to know what civic education could look like in your classroom. If you're dual credential, which most of you are, you're going to fill it out for, let me pull it up a different way. You're going to fill it out for your general ed and also for your ed specialists. Okay. Technical difficulties. All right. So I want you to think, if I'm in a K2 classroom, because I separated it with lower elementary and then upper elementary, what could civic education look like? And these are ideas that may have just popped in your head as you're looking at all the supplementary materials. These could be ideas that you're like, oh, I've done a unit on this, or these can be ideas that you actually find online. Use the internet. That's fine. Like I've said before, the best teachers beg, borrow, and steal. Sorry, my internet's a little bit slow. Okay. So what you're going to do is I separate it by box, put your idea down. You can put a link to where you got it, or you can just say like, you know, I just thought of it, but definitely put your name because that's going to be the assignment for this week. Here we go. Thank you for your patience. And so it's a fully editable document. The thing about this, I'm going to change it up a little bit, is that if you are, let's say, a science dual credential, but you have a really good idea for elementary as well, put it on here because the more the merrier. And so I put 2 examples for upper elementary. So the title is, what could civic education look like in my classroom, virtual or in person? We're all kind of in different boats right now, so either one. And I thought, well, for upper elementary, after studying nonfiction texts about lacking nutritional contents of school lunches, students could write a letter to the school board suggesting they provide funds for healthier options. Teacher actually mails letters, so that probably gave you a clue as to what it is. But that was actually a tangible idea I could use in my classroom if I was, let's say, a 4th grade student teacher. And then I put an idea for elementary ed specialists. Since I'm dual credential, why not just have a mock election with the upcoming presidential election? Short and sweet. I could have written more detail here. You really don't have to. That would be something that would work out when you're setting it up in your classroom. Or you can do more detail here. It's really up to you. This week, remember, we have the shorter assignment, more front loading. And then next week, we're going to have kind of the more in-depth intellectual assignment about that. But I want you to understand what civic learning is on a very basic level, the why behind it, and what it could look like in your classroom, depending on what you teach. That is it. And I look forward to reading your assignments. For those of you that came to the extra credit session on Sunday, it was a blast. We had 9 of us there at 14, which is a very good percent. Okay, I will be here if you need me. I look forward, as always, to reading your assignments and interacting with you on the discussion board. Take care.